Hey, what's up guys, Silky Crisp here, and I wanted to talk about a useful mental model that I've used for getting better at skills and learning in general. I've used this with my work, I've used it with aim training and also FPS games, and you can really use it for any skill that you can think of. I'll leave a link in the description to another video by a YouTuber who goes by Ali Abdal. He has a very good, concise video on this topic if you want more information. But basically, make it stick is basically talking about these 4 principles behind getting better at stuff and learning. And I'm actually going to give it 5 principles and turn it into an acronym called STICK, S-T-I-C-K. So the S stands for spaced repetition, T is for testing, I is for interleaving, C is for components, and K is for keep on going. So S, spaced repetition, is just the idea that it's better to practice something a little bit every day rather than a whole bunch all at once. And this makes sense because when you're getting better at a skill, really what you're doing is you're trying to build a better brain. You're trying to build new connections between your neurons. You're trying to strengthen existing connections and make them more efficient, take less energy. And you're also trying to remove or prune connections that are not working for you, that have some type of a negative consequence tied to that action, or if you just don't use it a lot, then it will decay naturally over time. So it makes sense that since we're trying to build a better brain, that we want to do a little bit every day, similar to building your body or strength training. You want to work out 3 to 5 days a week, and not only work out 1 day a week really, really hard. It makes sense to do that because your brain and your body needs time to rest and recover, and you need to eat a good, healthy diet so that your brain can build itself to be stronger and stronger and stronger as you learn to improve whatever skills that you're trying to improve at, right? So that's what the S stands for, spaced repetition. A little bit every day is a lot better than all at once. The second principle is testing, and I'm gonna apply it to aim training, and the idea is that it's better to test yourself regularly, and the book is really talking about active recall, which is a way of testing yourself by generating the information that you're trying to learn from your brain. So a good example in FPS games would be if you're trying to learn the layout of a map. It's helpful to close your eyes and try to visualize every area of the map and test yourself on this, and then go back into the map and kind of check and see, does your visual match up to what's actually there. I know some people have a hard time visualizing in their head 3D images and stuff like that, so maybe this isn't an exercise that's great for you, but it's just an idea to get you started. As it applies to aim training, I think it's better to do the challenges with aim training because you get immediate feedback with the score rather than just doing free play, because you just don't get the same level of feedback, and you also don't take it as seriously. So I think a high level of focus while you're doing a challenge is better than kind of just messing around and going through the motions. So there's obviously nothing wrong with just playing free play and not doing the scores, and sometimes it's good to do that to relax and to experiment with different ways of holding your mouse or whatever it may be. So there is definitely a place for it. I'm just saying in general, I think it's better to do the challenges because you get that immediate feedback, and it causes you to focus more and more. Another aspect that I would like to relate this principle to is in shooters. If you're trying to get better at a game like Apex Legends, you really need to play that game a lot, right? So you can aim train for 2 hours a day and only play Apex 30 minutes, but that doesn't really make sense, right? You need to test yourself in the game that you're trying to get better at and put the vast majority of your time into that game. So anyways, testing just means it's a good idea to continuously test yourself, and it's probably the quickest way to get better at any skill is to continuously test yourself and get rapid feedback. The third principle is I for interleaving. I actually like the term variety better. There's a little bit of a mix of evidence of whether interleaving or what's called block practice is better. Block practice seems to be better for really complicated skills that you're having a hard time struggling with, and interleaving seems to be better suited for skills that you relatively have a good grasp of, and it's basically just a way to kind of mix up your training and make sure that you don't kind of just go through the motions and go on autopilot. But I think it's a good idea to mix in block practice. So maybe one day you do a routine where you're only doing like 3 scenarios for 10 minutes each, and then another day where you do 1 by 1, another day where you do 3 by 3. I think just adding a lot of variety from different scenarios and different ways of practicing, also adding variety with changing your sensitivity, it all helps because really what you're trying to do is you're trying to build new connections. So new connections, I think, come from new experiences and adding variety into your training. So that's why I think it's important to keep pushing yourself by not just sticking with the same thing over and over again. The fourth principle, C, stands for components, and it just means that every skill that you can think of can be broken down into smaller sub-skills or smaller components that each can be practiced individually to make you better. So in shooters, you have positioning, aim, movement, map knowledge, awareness, decision making, the list goes on, but every little sub-skill that you can perform at a higher level basically adds up and multiplies to make you a better and better player. So if you have good positioning and aim, but bad movement, you're not going to be as good as someone who has all three of those, right? So even in aim training, you can actually break down scenarios into smaller components. So static dots, for example, you have your fast flick and you have your micro correction. So you can even break that down further into, you want your fast flick to be both fast and accurate, and you want your micro correction to be both fast and accurate. So while you're playing for 1 minute, you could focus on just really trying to make your flick fast, or really trying to make your micro correction accurate, whatever that may be. And I think through consciously focusing on this, that you get better than just doing the scenario over and over without really thinking about it. I think that conscious focus like that does help you improve at a quicker rate. So that's what I recommend. And that's kind of how I do aim training, is I'm very intense with it, and I focus 100% of my attention on it. I listen to a little bit of music in the background, or maybe a podcast every once in a while, but in general, I'm very focused, and that's just kind of how I'm wired. It may not be for everybody. Some people prefer to, watch or listen to anime or a book while they're playing. I know YouTube, Void Hunt, he's a guy that he advocates not putting so much focus on aim training. Just that's what has worked for me, and I feel like I progressed pretty quickly in aim training because of this, instead of kind of having a more fractured way of focus. So anyway, C, components. Every skill can be broken down into smaller sub-skills. Each sub-skill that you make into a strength, you're just going to get better and better. Okay, and the last one, K, is for just keep going. So building skills takes a long time. It takes, it took me over 7 months to get from around a gold platinum level aimer to Voltaic Grandmaster. In Apex right here, what you're seeing in the background is my very first solo versus trios win, and I've played Battle Royale a couple hundred hours in the past, in Season 2, but you need to play a little bit every day for a long period of time to really get better. And since I've taken a break for 2 years, kind of all that skill has disappeared, and so I feel like I'm starting over from scratch. I'm getting better and better, but at the end of the day, you just got to keep going. And something that's really helped me recently is the little phrase from Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Every time I die or just get a little frustrated, if I just start saying just keep queuing, for whatever reason, that just puts me in a good mood, and I immediately start queuing again. And I just kind of realize the reason that someone is better than me is just because they put more time in. They put more time, intensely focused on getting better, and I just need to do the same. And I can't expect to be a top 1% player without putting in the hours that a top 1% player has done. And I think that goes for everybody, and everyone progresses at different rates. I've played FPS games before aim training for thousands of hours. I played a lot of baseball as a kid at a pretty high level, so eye-hand coordination and things like that come naturally to me, which they may not come naturally to other people. But bottom line is, if you put in the time, you will get better, as long as you stick with it long term and kind of apply these principles and just consciously think about what you're doing and experiment and try to get better in whatever way that looks like to you. At a certain point, you're going to realize that no more information is really going to help you. The only thing that's going to help you is just raw practice. And that's where I'm at with Apex right now. I could watch guides for days, but they're really, at this point, I just need to play the game more and more and more so that I can make mistakes and learn from them and build the new connections, strengthen existing ones, and remove connections that or mistakes that I keep making over and over. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. This was my very first solo win in the background. I'm still playing arenas. I'm Diamond 2 right now, was middle of Diamond 2, and I fell a little bit. But I'm really just having a blast with playing Battle Royale, especially solo versus trios. It's just so fun to wipe squads and just know that one single player, me, just schooled your whole squad. So I don't know, I'm getting really addicted to it. It's getting in the way of me grinding ranked arenas, but I'm just having a blast with it. So I don't know that I'm really gonna force myself to play arenas to master the split. It's just I'm having a lot of fun with BR. So anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll let you watch the rest of this video. Peace out.
Just gotta take down the last squad, and I'm sole survivor. Wings up. Fox 3, launching missiles. Charging up my shield. Under fire.